Hello and frohe Ostern from Germany. Frohe Ostern, of course, means Happy Easter, although this is Good Friday, so this is April 2nd, and it's in the afternoon, 2:30. We've got some good light coming in, and my name is Sylvia. If you've never been by my channel, and this channel is called Running with Needles and Scissors, and it's about mostly cross stitch, but also a little bit of knitting and quilting. It's been a while. I took a break. I think it's been a little over 3 months now. And part of the reason I took a break was things were just getting a little ugly. And I just needed to take a breather and kind of reevaluate my priorities and where I was going and where I was spending my time. And I didn't not only take a break from Flosstube, I also took a break from Facebook and Instagram. I was just done. I think I stopped Facebook around January 1st, not any later than that. And I removed the Facebook app from all my devices and just had enough. Oh, you just saw her. She just flew by. We have a house guest. That is a Blackbird, and she's nesting right in there. And you might see her again as she goes back and forth to feed her babies, which have hatched a couple days ago. I can barely hear them. They're not very loud yet, but my research on blackbirds say that it only takes 2 weeks for them to come out of their nest, which will be fun because we're in an atrium. And the dogs will absolutely lose their minds because the little chicks are on the ground. So I will just have to make sure that I herd them, not the dogs, but the chicks outside into the courtyard. Where they are also relatively safe. Now, I'll give you a life update in just a minute. I thought I'd talk about my semi-permanent house guest here. She tried to build a nest 2 years ago. And not that she couldn't, she was halfway done, and one morning we came down and her her Mr. Blackbird was laying dead. There's a wall of doors and windows in that direction. And so he must have gotten confused and flown right into the glass. And she exits and enters. There's a tilted like glass brick window up there in the corner. And so she comes in and out of there. I know she found another partner that same year and built her nest nearby because she loves to be in our courtyard and mess up my flower beds, whatever flower beds I do have. But so she tried again this year, and the mister seems to be a little bit better of coming in and out, although I caught him one morning and I just was walking out to go into the other cellar. And he totally freaked out and flew against the windows. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. And so I backed up and stood by our entry door, which is right behind me here. You go right, well, that's a window, I think is what I'm pointing to. But the door is that direction. Oh, no, the door's that direction. Oh, my gosh, so confusing. I turn around. Yeah, it's right there. And so I stood there and I sort of waited for him to calm down, and he ended up on the floor here on the tile and was, fluffing his wings and chirping really loudly. And eventually he just started screaming, literally screaming, like, ah! And I was like, oh my gosh. And she showed up. Then she was at the window up there, and he calmed down and he hopped over and went up the stairs so I could cross and go into the other cellar. But it was very funny that Mr. Brave was screaming for his lady love to come help him out, and she did. So they come in and out of here. I think they're pretty well versed now, and she doesn't seem to be bothered too much that I'm here. So I thought I'd fill my Flosstube out here today. Okay, life update. I'm going to show you I have my glasses, so I didn't do anything, but as I sit here in the sun, they get dark. So I just decided to take them off for this Flosstube. Life update. So we've, 3 months seems like an age, and so much has happened. We had a house guest for about almost a month. A young lady I didn't know. Her dad called me, and I do know her dad, and said, "Hey, look, she needs a place to stay. Things at home aren't good." She was married. She is married, and I didn't ask any questions. I said, "Sure, send her over." And so she came, and I put her up in Olivia's room, and that's my youngest daughter, and it's up on the third floor, and has a good amount of privacy if you can manage to walk through my sewing room. But anyway, so, and it was lovely. It was lovely to have her, and we really enjoyed it. Did a lot of praying for her and her marriage, and things seemed to turn around. And so she left again and moved back home to her husband, and things seem to be going much better now. So I'm glad that we were able to just provide that kind of a respite for somebody. What else? Well, a lot of work, of course, as usual. And the big news is we decided to buy a house, and we've almost closed on a house in Texas. So we're not moving back to Texas as of yet. But felt that last year, I really felt that the Lord was telling me to not go. We were going to go and retire in France, which of course is a dream. It's just so, I would have loved to have done that. But during a number of my prayers, I just really felt led that wasn't the direction we needed to go, and that He wanted us back in Texas. And so I cried. I did, big fat tears, like, yeah. And not that I don't love Texas, I do, but France. But it's a year later. One of our boys is moving back to Texas, interestingly enough, and the other boy has said as soon as he gets done with schooling, he will also head back to Texas. So we decided to go ahead and buy a house, and we should close on April 15th. It was quite stressful and quite the journey, because the market in Texas is crazy. People from California are coming in, and any of you who lived in markets where people of California come in, you know what happens to the housing prices, and so that was something we had to deal with. But I have to say, God is so good. There's a couple houses we made offers on, and it wasn't high enough, or we weren't aggressive enough, or we weren't offering to pay in cash, and and that's always hard to not get the house that you really like. And this house, when my realtor went to look, I said, "Go look at this house." And when she went to look at it, she goes, "Guys, you picked another winner, and it's going to have 100 offers on it." And when she walked through, she's like, "Wow." She goes, "This is the nicest house you guys have looked at. It's by far the nicest." And it's really nice. And so we put an offer together, and it wasn't our best and top offer. We just said, okay, let's kind of come in here. And they accepted that offer. So, I'm just very grateful. And the hurdle that we still have to jump over is the appraisal. Because housing prices went so crazy, the appraisals aren't quite keeping up, and so it's coming in under what we offered, and we're just going to have to see what we do about that. Okay, and I have been stitching and knitting and quilting, but today I am just going to show some stitching, and that's not everything I've been working on. I thought I would keep it relatively short, so that I don't have to look at myself and listen to myself for an hour. I think that's one of the big hurdles that I have with these floss tubes, is when I'm done, it's an hour and 15 minutes, and I have to sit back down and listen to it all again to make sure I didn't misspeak, which I do all the time. And those of you who do floss tubes, I don't know if anybody likes listening to themselves or watching themselves on floss tubes. So I had actually done a floss tube in January, and it was relatively ranty, and so I was like, oh, too many rants. I was like, I'm not even gonna listen to it. And I kind of knew, like, okay, you're not ready to do a floss tube yet, but I think I am now. I think I can stay away from the ranting. Let me first show you some sweet, sweet, such surprising happy mail that I got from my friend Lisa. Oh my gosh, I've enjoyed our friendship so, so much. And let me put Lisa in context for those of you who are new or don't remember. I met Lisa at the Attic Summer School in Arizona 2 years ago in August, or it's gonna, year and a half ago. And we completely hit it off. And then when I started doing my Flosstube, I talked about Black Betty and that Tracy Riffle from Hands to Work. I went to one of her retreats all by myself because I wanted to go, and Blackbird was there, and Carriage House Samplings, and Maggie Bonanami was there. And of course, Tracy, Hands to Work, and I loved all of them. So I'm like, I'm gonna go. And so I flew up there, got a whopping case of food poisoning. I was there. So I landed in Baltimore, and my husband said, when you're in Baltimore, you need to go to this place for crab cakes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I like crab cakes. And so I went and had crab cakes at this place, and I wasn't too impressed. And I was kind of like, oh, it's really not, kind of tasting funky. And the next day, so if you know anything about food poisoning, it doesn't always come quickly. It can take 24 hours, 36 hours to show up. And so the next day I had scheduled to go to the museum there, and don't ask me what it was called, but they were doing a schoolgirl sampler exhibition, and so I wanted to see it. So I did. I went and I explored Baltimore and went to the museum and had a really nice time, and wasn't really hungry. I was my stomach was off, so I could already feel the effects. And then that night I started getting sick, and at 4 or 3 in the morning, the fire alarm went off in the hotel, and I was already up, I guess doing what, and so then, the next day I had to drive down to Virginia. I think it's Virginia, West Virginia. I get those two confused. To the retreat, and I'm in the car. And it's stop and go traffic. It's stop and go, and I'm so not feeling well. And I had stopped at Target, thank goodness, and bought a sweatshirt because I was getting cold. I forgot about the whole air conditioning thing, and I just hadn't brought anything warm to put on. And sitting in an air conditioned room is not my favorite thing. Anyway, so I had this Target bag. And we were stop and go. And I was in the middle lane, stop and go, stop. And the sun was like right now coming in from the side. It was just, just frying me. It was hot and the air conditioning was going, and we're stop and go, stop and go. And I couldn't take it. My stomach just revolted. And I'm sitting in the middle lane, and there's no way I can get to the side, and I'm gonna throw up. It's just coming. And so I, in a panic, just grabbed that Target bag and flung all the stuff that was in there. And, it was my motion sickness bag. I'm sure that people next to me were like, what is she doing? I was like, it was violent. It was bad. And so, I crept down to Virginia. I went to my room and laid down. And then it was time to go and sign in. And so I was standing there, putting my vitals into the sign-in sheet. And somebody from behind me says, hey, Black Betty. And I turn around, and it's Tracy Riffle, who, gets his face that's completely aghast. And she steps back. She's like, oh, I thought you were somebody else. Well, the person she thought I was Lisa. So she called Lisa Black Betty. And so Lisa and I have gotten a really, really big kick out of that. So I'm pseudo Black Betty, and my twin, the real Black Betty. Yep, she's my friend. And so she sent me, that was a long story for what I'm going to show you. But anyway, so she sent me another project bag. I'll show you the one she sent me prior because, oh my gosh, she's so sweet. It's gorgeous. So this is the one she sent me prior, and I love the zipper pull. And because she pays attention and she listens, she knows I love hedgehogs. So she sent me a sweet, sweet hedgehog bag, and check out this lovely bling on it, and I'll show you what's in it in just a minute. So that came as a total surprise, and she sent me some absolutely, in this lovely box, fantastic thread keeps, sorry. So, I mean, look at the thickness of these. These are awesome. Not only these, but also these beautiful ones. And then the back. Oh, there we go. And not only those, but also these. So fun. I am completely thrilled. And fun straight pins. So I actually just made a pin cushion that I'm gonna stick some of these in. Thank you, Lisa. It was so unexpected and came exactly on the right day. All right. Now, what have I been stitching on? So what I'm going to cover, I'm at 15 minutes. I'm gonna try and keep this to half an hour, and I think I can, if I don't tell any long stories again. So I'm just going to cover December and January. I hope I brought all the right stuff down, hopefully. And then the other thing I wanted to do was show you some of my major trash day finds. Just a few, and there's some good stuff here. Okay, so what was I stitching in December? You probably saw this, but we'll show it again because it was December. This was the Barbara Anna Santa's Trip. Ooh, okay, so, and this was, I did the downloads from the Stitch Along on Creative Puppy, and I really made a bunch of progress in 2 weeks. I know. No comments, but anyways, this is as far as I got. And this is on 40 count. Let me unroll this. Dirty linen. This is my back. And there's the called for threads. They're all DMC. Let me see if I have them on a ring in here. I do. So my floss tags are like this thin, and they do bend. So hers are fantastic. And you know, you see this red, you're like, this is like neon. That can't possibly look good, but it does. It really, really works. It's this one. So cute. All right. And I probably won't get back to this until next December. It may take me a couple years to finish it, or if I get motivated, then we'll go. And then I started, like everybody else, Winter Rose, and I cannot find, it's my working copy in here. Oh, okay, so here's my, everybody knows what it looks like. And I am stitching this on a 46 count heritage, piece of heritage from Victorian Motto. Oh, and one day we'll talk about Victorian Motto, but maybe not today. Okay, can we see it? There we go. And this is with the called for, except for, I didn't have the red, this dark red. Where are we? Oh my gosh, I'm almost off the screen. This dark red, and so this is a silk by Vicki Clayton, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. But anyway, so this is as far as I got on this one. Oh, I love the linen though. Okay. And then we rolled into January. And I started, oh yeah, let's start with this one. The berry sampler, berry bowl sampler. And this is this, and it's in here. This is a stitch along with Lisa, as a matter of fact. And we are not exchanging sides. We are just putting the initials. So she will be on this side and I will be on this side. And my pace is a bowl a week. And I actually have stuck to that. I think Lisa is a little further. I think she has one side done, but don't quote me on that. But I'm jumping from side to side, going back and forth. And let's see if I can you see it? So this is where I'm at. And I have to say, I have, there you go. So it's on the called for linen that I connected. And I think, boy, that was so long ago that I looked at the tutorial, but I think it was Jessie Lee from Jessie Lee Does Stuff, but oh, don't quote me. Anyway, so I used that tutorial to join my linen. It was a little bit of a chore, but it, you know, it's done. And I love it. I love what it's looking like. So I think my next basket is over here somewhere. And I have to say that the over one looks worse on 36 count than I've done over one full crosses on 46 count. No, 48 count, 48 count. And it looked better than what this one's turning out. I don't know what the deal is. But every week, this is my morning stitch and I am really enjoying it. I think the called for linen is 36 count Heartland and 36 count Wren. Whew, that was hard. Yeah, 36 count Wren. Then that was January 1st that I started it. And also early January, I started, it's in this one, a release that Michelle from Cozy Egg did for our guild, the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I should have been more organized and gotten the cover page. Okay, so this is the Cozy Egg Designs, the Legacy Collection, Sarah Ann Banton, 1833. This sampler belongs to a member and she let Michelle reproduce it. And they have a full reproduction and an adaptation. And I opted for the adaptation and Michelle's stitching the full one. So this is it. And it's a beauty. And the more I stitch on it, the more I just fall in love with this one. It's so lovely. And I will show you. And I am stitching mine, and this is on 40 count Heritage. So I've used both my pieces of Heritage. I got a 46 and a 40 count from Victoria and Motto. And so the original has a slightly green cast to it. And so I looked for that. And unlike most samplers, I don't do the border in one. I don't go all the way around. I know a lot of people do. I don't. I do it step by step. And in this one, I decided to go around and do the whole border. And it was a mistake. First of all, I couldn't make it meet. No matter what I tried, I restitched this thing so many times. And it was always off and always off. And I'm like, what is going on? And I counted, and it's not a difficult border. And I checked everything, and it wasn't off. And yet I was coming in off. And Michelle just found out that there's a mistake. But I think I gave up and just did it. I just did the border the way I saw it on all the other, so it's the bottom border where the mistake is. And I'm sort of not meeting exactly, but enough to make it work. And I'll change it one more time, a little bit just in that stretch to get it to really thin. So this is where I am right now. And I'm using hand-dyed fibers. And so the border, at least one of them is done. And I won't tell you where my make do meet is, but it's here. But I literally probably stitched the border twice because it just wasn't coming together. And I just couldn't believe that I just was incapable of getting it to meet, but it was the chart, not me. Because I kept saying, it can't be the chart, it's gotta be right because it meets. How could it not, you know, and then, and I'm not going to go into the mistake that's on the chart. I'm hoping Michelle can figure it out easily and not have too much work. I've corrected mine, so I am where I'm at. And I've been using, so I learned something in this. I've been using a Bitsy Bob for all the strays, trying to keep my work a little bit more orderly and not all the, because I just park my threads on my piece of linen most of the time. But I come to find out that a Bitsy Bob really doesn't like silk threads. They just fall off. So, but I constantly fly them off. So it's really great for cotton threads, but silk threads, not so much. Still love the whole concept though. And since I started using it there, I'm just leaving it. Then for Inauguration Day, I decided to start the Noble Free by Midsummer Night's Design. And it's out of print. I snagged one from the attic. They may still have it. And I thought it was so cute. And I think I've gotten most of the colors that was called for. Oh, I didn't even put that on a ring. Okay. And really, I started it on Inauguration Day as just as a statement to the country I love. It has nothing to do with the president that came into office. But, oh, sorry. Oh no, this is not called for. But I just wanted to kind of put an exclamation point of regardless of who's in the White House, the U.S. and the people in it are great people. And having lived in another country and you know, a more socialist bent country, and being surrounded by countries that are more or less socialistic, there's some good parts to it, don't get me wrong, but the freedom we enjoy in the U.S. is unprecedented, and the opportunities we have in the U.S., at least it used to be that way. And it's just something I wanted to commemorate. So here are my colors that, I think the blue's missing because I don't see a blue. So is it still in there? No, it might be on the floor somewhere or in my lap. Okay, well, I won't spend too much time looking for my blue, but there is a blue and it's currently missing. I'll figure out what it is. It's right there. And this is on, I wrote it on here, 36 count. It's a Picture This Plus feldspar. I think it's feldspar. And this is how far I got on this. I thought I was going to, in the time that I allotted, was going to get the alphabet completely done, because now comes the fun part. But it's just so sweet, and I really, really like it. And yeah, I'll get back to it. So 2 weeks in January, I worked on that. And I also fixed my extra tall bag into a more reasonable height. Oops, there's my pattern. And I think that wraps up the December-January stitching fun I was having. Now I want to, okay, we're at 28 minutes, so I'm going to quickly just show you some of the items that, excuse me, I have fished out of the trash during our big trash days. And to explain again, for those of you who are new or just missed the trash or, you know, we talk about trash. We have big trash days here in Germany, and different cities are different. We're really lucky that in Kalkheim, they just let you put it out on the curb and you can rummage through. And big trash day is for items that don't really have a designation. They can't go into the black regular trash can. They can't go into the brown organic waste trash can. They can't go into the yellow plastic and cans trash can. They can't be thrown into the glass recycle drop off, and they cannot go into the blue trash can, which is the paper trash can. So yes, I have, except for the glass, I have all these trash cans sitting outside, and there's a very complex schedule when they have to go out, you know, in various intervals. So we get a master plan every year at the end of the year for the next year, and it shows all the times when, you know, for the whole city when the trash goes out in the various districts. And so the various districts also then have big trash day. And so one of the things I found many, many years ago, and we've been living here 10 years, 9.5 years now, was this. And I just about yahooed and, yep. It's got a crack. It's an antique. It was just sitting on somebody's trash heap. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're coming home with me. I've not done anything with it. It needs probably a good cleaning and waxing, but I love it. So there's that. I'll do these in chronological order. The next thing I found in trash was this. I mean, I found way more, but I'm just showing you a couple pieces. Is this. That's two. So it's got 4 windows, and it's sort of a chalkboard. It's got a thing and 2 hooks, and it says, "Wo ist Heike?" Where is Heike? Heike is a German name for a girl. Anyways, so it needs a little bit of a cleaning and a waxing, and I have plans for these 4 windows. Let me see. Okay, and I put that in here. It's these guys. Birds of a feather. These: patience, loyalty, honesty, and love. I think they'll be perfect for in there. And I probably have to go a little bigger, like 35 count or something like that. I think at 35 count, I figured that they would fit. I pulled mostly hand-dyed fibers, just because, and they're all on various, what are they called? You know, plastic bobbins. And so they're a little hard to show. But one of these days I'll get around and I'll stitch these. They shouldn't take too long, and we'll have that done. The most recent thing, and this was all at the same, man, it's just, I can't believe it. Okay, so this one's giving me a lot of frustration, is this fun writing desk. So it's a lap desk, it's old, it's opened, right? And so I watched Jane Eyre the other day on Netflix, and she had one. She was doing her drawings on that. And I was like, hey, I know exactly what that is because I found one. But the thing is, it is a little bit warped. So you can see right here, it's not, and I have done everything I possibly could think of to do to get this to unwarp, and it just refuses to. This must be super hardwood. I have no idea what to do with it, but I really wanted to stitch a piece. I wanted to paint this actually, and then, you know, distress it and wax it, and I think it would be really lovely. So I'm just going to continue working on it. I've had 2 20-pound weights sitting on this, even with damp towel, wrapping it in plastic. I've done everything I could find on the internet, and I still can't get it to. So I've had these 2 of them, these heavy weights sitting on it. I cannot get it to unwarp. If anybody has a great idea or has done this before, let me know. But I think it's still usable, and I might just put a latch on it down here and just, you know, have it or 2 latch, I don't know, something. It's driving me nuts. Okay, and then in our last big, it's in German, it's called Sperrmüll. There's a yarn shop across the street where I've spent plenty of money, and she was getting rid of some stuff, and she got rid of an IKEA shelf that has just the squares in it, and it's a 4x4, so it has 16 squares. And next to it, she had piled 6 wine crates from France, like this, right there. And so you can see they're perfect for putting project bags in, and then I just slide it into the shelf. It looks fantastic up in my craft room. They're not all that pretty, like this one, but they're all nice. And so I'm gonna look for 2 more. I probably won't be as lucky to find them in the trash, so I looked on the eBay marketplace, and people are selling them for like €6, and I could order 2 and have them come. So that is a couple of my trash finds. I'm at 35 minutes, so I am going to say goodbye. I had planned to share some of my haul with you, but my plan is to come back in 2 weeks and go over where we do, so January, February, March, my February, March stitching, and put a little bit more haul in there and other news, and maybe some more trash finds. So let me wrap it up. I hope you guys are staying happy, healthy, and terrific, that life has been treating you well. Here in Germany, we're on forever lockdown. They're talking even stricter lockdown because the third wave seems to be significant, and it's the British variant. Yeah, we're all having corona fatigue over here. I am planning to, if it's still possible at the time, in the beginning of May, to fly on over to the US. The house should be closed, our son should be in it, and I can quarantine there for 10 days and then visit some friends and maybe take a deep breath of normal air, because Texas everything seems to be running normally, but who knows what it's going to be like when I get there. But I'm just looking for a little bit of a breather from this lockdown. Yeah, so that is it. And I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Take care, happy stitching, love and missed you guys. Bye.